As everybody, oh, hello, everybody. We're letting you in. Hi, Arlene, Annette, Teresa, Amber. We've got Joan, Lorraine. I feel like I'm like, there's Mo, there's Julie. We've got some great people. We've got Eve and Giselle and Terry, and wonderful. This is fantastic. Very exciting stuff here tonight. We have over, oh my gosh, it's almost 340 people that have registered for the webinar. My bet is we end up with about 150 that are watching it live. We will see how that goes. So most American seniors are active, vibrant, and live independently. Many fitness professionals treat them as if they are frail. Learn from our active aging experts, and Robert Linkul shaking his head. We're going to talk about designing programs to increase strength, power, balance, and agility and speed. We've got 45 minutes. I'm going to introduce these people quickly, and we're going to go through questions. Now, the first thing, I know you guys know how to do this. Move your mouse, go to the bottom of the screen, see the green share button. Don't click on it. Nobody can click on it but me. Go to the left chat box. We've already got 7 people. I love this. Mary from Maryland, Rocky from California, Cincinnati, Ohio, North Carolina, New York, Carolina, Massachusetts, Ontario, New York, Vermont, Arizona, Maine, Iowa, love this, Wisconsin, Maine, Houston, I don't care about the rest of you. Okay, and those people in Texas, how are you surviving? Why is everything open? Okay, but we're not talking politics. Thank you, Robert, for laughing. Jane Kurth is here today with us. She is a retired professor in kinesiology and health. She founded Fit Fix Now, which our course is online training. She's a consultant for Silver Sneakers. She's also been
a model.
Hell yeah. Model for, she's a hot one. Okay. And she does all these wonderful things. We're very excited to have her. We've got, of course, the gorgeous, talented, brilliant Keli Roberts. She's the recipient of IDEA's International Fitness Instructor of the Year Award, Best Female Presenter, Lifetime Achievement Award. She was inducted into the National Fitness Hall of Fame. Woohoo! She's also on the SCW faculty. She leads our active aging certification and our personal training certification. She's brilliant, gorgeous. She's engaged. Okay, I love this. All right, am I allowed to do that? I'm allowed to do. I did it anyway. Haha. It's my webinar. Robert Linkul, who is gorgeous and dressed appropriately for this webinar, is the owner of trainingtheolderadult.com. Look at his background. You see that? TOA, trainingtheolderadult.com. Robert's an internationally known presenter. He's featured for his teaching on resistance training strategies for the older adult and those with physical limitations and or decreased quality of life. He's my guru. We've got Alexis Perkins, who is the cutest among us. She's adorable. You have to hear her story. I'm going to make her share it with you. She's the founder of Chair One Fitness. She found her passion. It wasn't given to her by anybody, and she never anticipated it, right, Alexis?
You're right.
It's Chair Fitness. She's unbelievably creative and talented. She's passionate about media and business. She's a certified instructor. Amazing. These people are amazing. So we're going right into it because we have 45 minutes and Mike Lieber's got dinner waiting for him on the table. He's running our webinar. So we love you, Mike. Thank you. What certifications are required and or recommended for training active agers? Now, I know you guys all run certifications, but very interesting for SCW. We found a huge surge, right, Keli, in our certifications over COVID. Keli, how did you find the people when they attended the certifications?
There's been a massive surge, I think, for a number of reasons. First of all, because people had time and they wanted to continue their education, but also the need for training older adults really increased because gyms closed and training them virtually really tripled. My own personal training business just tripled since the lockdown. It's been amazing. But I think because there's a real need for education. I myself have done a number of courses since the lockdown to get up to speed because I was training a lot of older adults, and I needed to really kind of up my game.
Yeah, everybody needs to up their game. And Robert, you've also seen a huge surge.
We have, yeah, we offer an online training course, which we had some concern in the beginning. Our older population's going to want to try online training, and we offered our service. We did the pivot. We made the transition in March. Our clients really liked it. We started to kind of share how we did it. We had a demand for a course. We built it, and it went big. Our clients really, really like it. Our trainers like it. And it's a very unique way of working with older pops online. You have to do a lot of tutorials, but it works great.
And I'm just hitting on the two of you here, so just shout it out. What were some of the main interests that you found? Like, you start teaching one thing and then you evolve and realize, oh my goodness, everybody needs this. What did you see was a great need for older adults? Anything specifically?
I definitely see a lot of need for balance, a lot of information on balance and strength and conditioning, but especially balance.
Yes.
I saw my biggest course at the past weekend. I had 70 people in my Balance for Active Aging course. People really want to know about that.
Yeah, and if people want to know about that, it's also because their clients need it. And that's interesting. So focusing on balance is key. Alexis?
No, I noticed that it was, first of all, fall prevention and everything like that was definitely needed. And there's so many different great courses like Fall Proof and all these other things that people needed. But what I saw was also a need to return to some kind of interaction and or social environment, even if it was through a screen or if it was in person where people allowed them to congregate. I know that with our program, the one thing we focus on is creating an energy and a vibe between people through dance fitness from a chair. But that's what was lacking, was that kind of fun, interactive environment where they got to be social as well. And that social element that made them feel good during this time of separation.
Oh, that's really good. And Jane?
Yes, I think balance is so essential because during COVID, I had a fall. My husband had a fall, was in the hospital for 2 days. I talked to so many people who had a fall, and the whole balance element is so important because it's life ending or it can be life threatening. So I think for older adults, and a lot of them, the ones that I work with mostly, is that they're really older, like 80 to 90 years old. And that is a huge issue for them. So if they have a fall, it could end everything.
It could end everything. And Robert, how are you also addressing that? I know you're a big proponent of strength training to help increase balance and stability.
Well, a big demand for us with this was learning how to assess our client either online or in person, because a lot of the assessments that our industry currently has, if you score them or assess them as zeros, what does that tell you? A majority of older populations can't do, thumbs to ear push up and inline lunge and up and over. A lot of the assessments that we've kind of accepted as staples. So we had to create a new assessment that could take more of like a functional movement approach, our daily life movements, assess that, and then we can see where our weakness is at, where do we need to fill in. And the resistance training component for that is such a big piece. Not only do we get stronger, more capable, able, stable to produce and perform these movements, but if we do fall down, we're more dense, bones are stronger, more musculature on the frame. Hopefully they don't break, they can get up from there. And part of our strength training program is teaching the get up. So if you do fall down there, you're dense enough, you don't break, you pop back up and take good care of yourself.
That's interesting. I teach yoga for active agers, and I do a mat and I do a chair. But whenever I'm doing my mat, we practice getting up using our right leg, and then we focus on using our left leg, because if they're going to brace themselves, they're going to brace themselves with their right arm and their right leg, and that's the one that's going to be injured, and you better learn to get up on your left. Alexis.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned your chair and the yoga. I actually popped into your session at the SCW Aging Summit. It was awesome, by the way. But I just wanted to speak really quick.
I paid her to say that.
For those who are listening, when I'm speaking, my reference is what we like to call, I guess, super seniors. Because Jane, I know you said that a lot of your average is like maybe 85. Many of my students range between 75 and 105.
Yeah.
So mine are like really, really super seniors, like of age. And so I think that when it comes down to the fall prevention, having those chair options available, because they are seated, even though somebody is in a chair, you still have to watch out for if they slide or if they slip or if they side to side, things like that. So I was just going to say that when people hear me speak, that mine are very much of age.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And Jane?
Like Alexis said, even the people who are not capable of walking anymore still need the fall prevention. It's still essential for them. So I applaud you, Alexis, for working with especially that far end of the spectrum aging population and helping them, because a lot of people think they don't need it.
And we're all living so much longer.
Yes.
And I always say to people, your teeth have to, your mother used to tell you, brush your teeth, they have to last you the rest of your life. Well, take a look at your ligaments in your bones.
Yes.
Like I'm an idiot. I was an idiot runner. My husband runs marathons. He ran, you ready for this? 18 marathons. I'm like, you're a moron. What are you doing? You have 2 sets of legs and someone's got to take out the garbage. What are you doing to yourself? But we have to look at that. You brought up a very interesting point, Robert, about PAR-Qs, which are the fitness assessments or our intake forms. I know, Jane, you do health history forms when you do an intake. And obviously you have your, you were a professor in kinesiology and health, so you've got a wealth of knowledge. But what type of information do you collect on your health history forms?
Well, I want to know of any particular health conditions. Do they have high blood pressure? Do they have diabetes? I want to know that basic information, but then I also want to know musculoskeletal issues. Do they have a shoulder problem? Do they have a knee problem? So that their program design can be beneficial. I know Robert was mentioning earlier a lady he's been training that's needed knee replacement, and the wonderful progress he's made with her. I mean, but he had to know that. I also like to know of certain medications, and if I'm not familiar with them, I'll look them up. Just because, like, if they're on a beta blocker and they have high blood pressure, their heart rate's going to be depressed. So I like to have the medical background just to know and to make sure I can contact their doctor or their doctor has permission to talk.
Well, there's a couple things. I think you guys know I'm a lawyer by education, or I play one on the webinar. But I don't practice law. So this is just business advice, guys. But if you're going to take a health history form, you better know what to do with the information you're collecting.
Yes.
Because you're going to be held liable to know that information and use that information. And let's say you decide to go out of town and you pass them off to somebody else that's going to train them. You passed them off, you better pass off that health history form and know how to do it. So I always encourage you, add a little attestation clause at the bottom that you make them sign off that says, I agree that I am going to use this health history form for this initial interview only. Yes. Okay. And my trainer, my group fitness director, et cetera, the facility, the club will not be liable for knowing or using the information contained herein. I'll try to write that up and ask Mike Lieber to throw it in the recording tomorrow. So you guys have that language. But collecting the information, make sure you know what to do with it. But it's important to collect it. And I would always recommend annually, you might want to retake your health history forms because it changes so rapidly as they age. And also annually, I would get a new waiver of liability and a doctor's release form, because if the doctor has released them into your care for exercise, they assume some of the liability as well. And then you can kind of, hopefully, God forbid anybody sues you, but pour it off. check your insurance forms as well. Make sure older adults are not excluded, because I worry about that. Keli, you do an interesting assessment because you got to deal with a lot of people via Zoom. And FaceTime, right?
Yeah, I'm training some clients through FaceTime as well as Zoom. And I've got a 95-year-old client who is highly capable, highly functional, but I see her through FaceTime. And so it can be very challenging, as Robert mentioned, doing some kind of assessment, because like the FMS assessment is not going to help you with an older adult. You know, the hurdle step, the inline lunge, the overhead squat, not so much.
0, 0, 0.
And
Now what? What does that mean?
Yeah, and the risk of injury.
Yeah.
The risk of injury for something like that. Robert, how do you handle your assessment?
I don't let them know I'm assessing them. That's the trick. Okay. And I think I told you about this. My wife is a runner, and we went to Fleet Feet, and they go in and they go, "Oh, I want to watch you run." And so she starts running along like Michael Johnson with her perfect posture and her gazelle stride. And I'm like, "What the hell are you doing? That's not how you run." And she goes, "Well, he's watching me run. I didn't want to look bad." And I went, this is the problem, right? We come in and I'm like, "Ladies, I'm checking your posture," and everybody shoots up all of a sudden and the shoulders come back. But if I just come in and say, "Let's go over here. I want to do 10 sit to stands. Let's go for it." And they start doing your sit to stand, and you start to assess a knee collapse. You start to see heel toe dominance. You start to see rocking. You see thoracic collapse, impingement. You start to see all these little tells, right? I want your tells. And so, okay, yeah, come over here, grab onto this band. Let's do a chest pull. Let's pronate the hands. Let's see what we do here. Let's do a gate step. I want you to carry this. Let's pop down on the floor. Why don't you lay down for me? No, not over there. Let's go over here. I want to see them get up and down. Can they transition? Can they press to overhead or pull from overhead? So I mock it into what it looks like a workout, but it's not. It's our assessment. And we go through 1 or 2 times, and then I sit them down and I go, "Okay, here's what I'm seeing," because it's unjudged, it's unpracticed. They're not showing me what they think I want to see. They're just showing me them. And then I can make a much better conscious decision on program design. Where's our focus? What do we need to target?
Interesting. Alexis?
Hi. No. No, I was just going to say that for our instructors, even though we are still part of the fitness world, we are many times a part of the wellness programs at different senior communities, being assisted living, independent living, and or skilled care. When we go into these different communities, we can always ask the activities professional, "Hey, what conditions or ailments do the participants have today or the residents have?" But many times they are unable to answer us due to HIPAA violations and things like that, because they want to protect the residents' privacy. So what we do is we try to train our instructors to be ready for just about anything. We are very active in scanning the room, understanding what is normal for somebody with dementia. How do they normally act? What are their mannerisms? What do you look out for? What if somebody has an amputation? What if somebody's had a stroke? What if somebody has a brain injury? And we make sure to put a lot of time into preparing our instructors. So I say, yes, you can ask what ailment somebody has, but you need to be prepared to walk into anything, and how to assess it and adapt the workout that you're giving them on the spot, and also understanding emergency protocols. We do still have, insurance and things like that, but we are very big on, like Robert said, assessing it kind of on the spot.
Yeah,
what a great suggestion too. I'm sorry to interrupt, but what a great suggestion too of the on-the-fly assessment progression. Where do you progress? Where do you slide to? Progression, regression. And from ownership or management position, are you teaching that to your staff? Are you all in agreement on what comes next, what goes back? Are you all using the same cues, same progression, same terminology? That's fantastic. I love it.
Because we need this strength training and this personal training. But I've got to tell you, there's so much that goes into health, and so much of it is mental. And Alexis, you mentioned this at the beginning, that we need this group contact, that our older adults often are alone. It's called retirement. They retire, and we need to be where they're social. To some people, we're their church. Okay. And I promise I'll get you, Jane, but Amy asked an interesting question. She goes, when training virtually, how do we avoid liabilities since we can't spot them? And Keli, you always share this interesting story, how you literally have to train some of your clients, hello, move your iPad. I can't see you. I'm looking at the carpet instead of you. Like you can't see how they're exercising.
Yeah, a lot of older clients don't realize how important it is for me to see them. They think they just need to see me, but actually I'm much more interested in seeing them. And so part of the training is training them to be visible to you. And a wall is a very handy thing. It's, using a wall for balance drills, a chair. I like a wall better than a chair for a lot of things, but a chair will also do. So I use chairs and walls and wherever available to just make things a little bit easier or a little bit more stable or a little less vulnerable for them.
And it's hard. I mean, Amy, if you're talking about liability, if you're looking at somebody face to face, it's very different than training them online. Do you have an elevated liability when you're personally training someone as opposed to doing a group exercise program? Yes, you do. And when you're doing it through Zoom, you've got an even increased separation. And it's very interesting. I'm just going to share this really quickly. Florida just passed a bill, and we believe that their governor is going to sign it into law, where it said that if somebody gets COVID from coming into a gym or coming into a church or a restaurant or something, if they get COVID, that the individual cannot sue the establishment for that disease, unless if it was negligence, somebody didn't wear a mask, if somebody, it just happens. You went out, you went into the restaurant, you took the risk. But if it's intentional, like there is a health club, I think it's in New Jersey, who's giving away free memberships for people who are not getting vaccinated, which I think let's not get political, but whatever. That's intentional. That's an intentional tort. So I think we're getting protected as far as COVID is concerned, but I think we need to look at our liability. Robert, yes.
On day one of assessment, I'll ask my clients if I have any kind of concern via the phone conversation. I have a bad hip, or I'm 90, or anything that comes across to me as like a little flag. I'll ask them to have a spotter or bring their daughter or their husband, someone to come in. So when we're doing that movement observation, I can say, Steve, stand right next to her here for this one. I want to check the balance, whatever it is, right? And then once you have those assessments, maybe you don't need the spotter all that often anymore. We can train because I know now what they can do and what they can't do. So if you have a concern there, ask that person to come in. And Keli, when you talk about using the wall and the chair, that kind of bit, when we're really trying to challenge somebody with increasing their stability, when we give them something so stable that they're either out of balance or completely in balance, big super bands, like the big bands I have hanging up on here, those are great in-betweeners where they can hang on to two of those and they can still steer and kind of correct, but it's not just, well, I'm completely safe or I'm falling down, right? So that, or I see like the TRX straps, but it's consistent tension. You want some play in there. And I think that's a really good piece to kind of help people like gradually kind of steer away from such comfort, and challenge that a little bit. But I like that. I like the chair, I like having a wall, have those steps that you can progress. Like Alexis talked about, your progressions, your regressions,
Yep.
Where you can step those things too.
But when it's virtual, they don't have the equipment. So if it's a virtual situation and the only equipment they have is a pair of dumbbells and a chair, then I'm going to use a wall. With my client who has Parkinson's, I use a TRX. And that's great because it is, as you said, it's that play between stable and unstable, and I'm there. So I can walk that edge a little closer to where they're more vulnerable. But when it's just me and a device and they're in their living room, I play it pretty cautious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good call.
And
I think
that's a good idea.
essential to err on the side of caution.
Right. And I'm going to go to Alexis and Jane. I promise to get to you because I think I interrupted you before. I apologize.
Oh, I was just going to say that what we tell our instructors to do, especially when they're running a virtual class, is I always ask for an alternative person's phone number in emergency contact. My biggest fear is what happens if they drop on the screen? I can't call them. They're down.
Oh man.
Right? So I always ask for like a separate emergency contact. So if you drop, I have somebody whom I can call. Also, I had my lawyer draw up something that basically says you enter at your own risk. If something happens to you, I'm not held liable. And I've done that when it came down to the workout videos I did, as far as having the disclaimer, or if there's something where somebody can check out on your website, I put it in the beginning before they check out under terms and conditions so they can check the box. And if somebody doesn't have a website and they're really doing it just cash at me, right? If it's one of those things like cash at me, then I'll send them an email that they have to hit confirm with. Or Adobe Sign is great. If you have something drawn up, Adobe Sign is a really good tool as well. So those are different things I've done depending on what level I was at.
And that is great. I'm going to ask you something. I'm putting you on the spot, Alexis. Would you mind sharing that with people, that release?
I can. Let me talk to my lawyer because it has Chair One Fitness verbiage in it right now. But let me write it down because I can't.
Okay, because we can white out your name and send it. And if not, you guys, I promise I'll send you something.
And I know you'll follow up with me, Sarah, so I will not forget.
I know. There's so many things that are going on. Stacy said I have a disclaimer too, and she makes sure that they have a local emergency contact. One thing I thought was very interesting is there's one, I think it was Paula, I'm not sure if it was Paula or Debbie or Diane, but they record the first session and say, I want to confirm that you're exercising at your own risk, that you're healthy, and blah, blah, blah. You as the trainer read it off, you're recording it, and they just have to give a thumbs up. That's beautiful. And also, Alexis, it's brilliant just to have them check a box. That is legal, to have them just check a box that I confirm. And to always, 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 before you start a session, you're exercising at your risk. Now, Jane, if you can, God knows we've gone way down a rabbit hole.
I remember.
You can remember what you were going to talk about.
I remember. Thank you, Sarah. When we were talking about the whole social aspect, and loneliness is huge, especially during COVID. It has been huge. And if you can, I know at the Active Aging Summit, I did a session on meeting needs and touching lives. And it's about building a community. Some of the classes I teach virtually to the older adults, they all say, we're a family.
One thing I want to talk about, I was very impressed, Alexis, with what you did, is that we kind of have the same mindset when we do a chair workout. Was it's not about, yay, we got Jane.
Yeah,
it's not about being in the chair. It's about the focus of the chair workout is what? To get the heck out of the chair. Like every time I would do my warrior 2, you put one hand on the chair and then you press yourself up a little bit and you come back down a little bit and you come back up. It's not about staying in the chair. It's about making sure you can progress and go to the next level. And if you want to stay in the chair, well, stay in the chair, but giving a safe alternative. And Kelly, I also like the way you say, I'm going to use the wall kind of as a modifier so that it's there, it's my friend, and I'm going to keep doing it. Are there specific exercises or equipment that you think should be avoided? Anybody have any opinions on that? Is anything?
Oh,
yeah, Alexis.
Say, I teach a chair-based class, and we have a whole section about what chairs not to use. And I know that this may seem like common sense, but somebody once said if common sense was common, everybody would have it. So we always say stay away from chairs that have 4 wheels, even if they're lockable, because they can accidentally kick it with their foot. And of course, stay away from unstable chairs. Like I had somebody ask me, could they use a chair, like you have on the side of the football field, the umbrella chair? Like, no, there's no stability in that. We also, when you get to working with people of certain ages, they will often have a 4-wheel walker and or rollator, depending on where you're from is what you call it. And we always say, hey, they walked in on it. Don't let them sit in it because it doesn't have the proper back support. And don't feel bad about asking them to stand up and sit in a chair. They just walked in with it. They're okay. So we do recommend not using those when doing a chair-based class as far as stability purposes.
And another thing that, at least what I do in my yoga class, is we have the yoga mats there. Now they're bringing their own yoga mats, but I make them put the yoga mat down and I have them put it in front of the chair, and the two front legs of the chair are resting on the yoga mat. And that's because I do not want that chair to move, no matter what. They're using that sticky. And then their feet, I do want them to be barefoot, but a lot of older adults, like, I'm sorry, I have really ugly feet. And it's just, and it may be the running, it may be, God knows it can't be genetics, right? But they don't want to take their socks off. So at least they're not going to slip on a wood floor or slip on carpeting, which is good that they don't do that. But are there any other pieces of equipment? I really like that. Jane.
I think that it depends on the fitness level of the older adult. You may have a good friend of mine that was on the dance team with me is 71, and she can do forward handsprings, and she can get on a wobble board and do any ballet move you could imagine. She can do anything. But then you may have a 60-year-old that is having difficulty. So I think it's so important to understand the level of your client or your class.
Right. And Robert?
I really like to use super bands, use your 41-inch bands that are on a big loop. And so part of our requirement to do our online training program is we have a kit that's like $25 or $30, and it's got 3 bands and a handle and a door anchor. So once we have that, we just have them do their daily check, make sure the door anchor is secured appropriately. They're doing their full 360s of their bands. It didn't hit close in the door. Somebody didn't, rub by it with their backpack and cut one of them, and then it ends up snapping, hitting them in the face, something like that. Just do their daily checks of their equipment. The door is secured and locked, that the husband's not walking in from the other side, and the whole thing, So just basic safety checks to make sure that equipment and that gear is working right on a regular basis for them. Some of the dumbbells too that are adjustable, making sure that they're tightened down and working well, and they're completing the exchanges from the pull, the hook up, that it's not half and half and they drop a 5-pound plate onto their foot, that kind of stuff. Just securing safety and around the
Very
environment
good.
that they're in.
And I love this. Mary Ann just put into the chat, we are now called Young at Heart, not
Young at
older
Heart.
adults, for the record. I'm like, oh my, sorry, Mary Ann, love you. Oh, there's Catherine. She says it's Goldens. You know what?
Golden.
Use whatever term. I always heard active agers. Lauren Spitzcantini, active agers. I love that. I think that works. But you know what? I'm a senior. Okay, well, I'm not a senior yet. I'm getting close. But I'm not a junior, man. I'm okay with you calling me a senior. It's what you feel comfortable. And Jane, please share.
There's this whole movement around ageism and the terminology we use. But I do think it's important to note that the World Health Organization has designated 2021 to 2030 as the decade of healthy aging. And I think that's significant.
They changed the term from active aging to healthy aging. And I think that's very interesting, because I think there's been a huge acknowledgement of that health is not just fitness, and it encompasses social and mental. And Alexis, you want to say something? I can
No, I just giggled because I saw in the chat that somebody said we are not young, and that is okay. In regards, and as a response to the Young at Heart, it just tickled me. I didn't mean to laugh out loud, but I did. But I was just gonna say, as far as like terminology for what I do on my side, being that a lot of our participants are older, we have to deal with a lot, and keeping up with terminology can be challenging. Like they said, it's not hearing impaired, it's the hard of hearing. It's not this, it's that. Terminology is constantly changing. So whether it's active ager, healthy aging, senior, vintage, it's this, is that. It'll also vary by where you're from. Like I noticed that when I do trainings and I have a predominantly West Coast group versus East Coast, they'll say the same thing, just 2 different ways. So I typically don't get too caught up on the language. It tickles me. That's why I was laughing at, now they have mature adults and everything else. So that's all I giggled at.
That's great, you guys, because if you're looking for ways to market your now I'm terrified of what I'm going to call them. But your aging clients, your older adults, your mature adults, your healthy agers, your whatever, your, you know, the people that don't look like they're 20, whatever, you know, if you can find a way to market, steal all these terms, because it is good. It is good to change these things. Robert, thank you. Robert also put the anchor pull, the information on the door anchors in the chat box. Do you, Mike Lieber, could you find a link to that? Robert, is it on your site by any chance?
Oh, I don't sell them on my site or anything. It's just, I was just saying, like, door anchors are out
okay.
there, $3 to $5 on Amazon. Like,
yeah,
you know.
SCW's got these bands that are big and wide and work. I know Kelly, you use them. You've used them with clients, which is great. I'll ask Michael put that in the chat box. Now, I've also got a question here. How do nutritional needs change as an individual ages, and what role does this play in physical and cognitive ability? Jane, you're nodding your head. Obviously, we have opinions on this.
I do. I do. And especially for cognitive ability, I'm working with a group of neurologists that have a plan called the Neuro Plan. And nutrition's the first part of the acronym Neuro, because nutrition is so important. And this population, like I know Alexis probably has gone into a lot of assisted livings or nursing facilities. They're stuck with what they eat. A lot of the people I've talked to get Meals on Wheels. So, you know, it's not necessarily that they have the capability of even picking what they're going to eat, but they do tend to suffer from a malnutrition, of not enough of the right kind of foods.
And Robert, you had some comments, I think, before we turned the camera on.
Yeah, it's just a struggle to know everything's slowing down a little bit for us. Processed foods are a lot more difficult for us to deal with, to process out. The more local, the more daily picked type of foods that you can get, your whole based foods. I think as we age, you're going to be able to digest, process those, get everything you can nutriently from them, and not do a lot of damage back to your body. So we just encourage our clients to eat as natural, whole food based diet that they can. And hydration is such a huge key for us too.
Yeah.
So. And
you did say, I made kind of a bad joke, but I said, as we age, I think chocolate is an essential food group. And you, Robert, what did you say?
And wine, chocolate and wine. It's got to be dark chocolate though, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And your red wine.
But you did say something interesting. You also said you can't totally deprive yourself.
Oh yeah, and that's such a big thing. Your clients are like, I need to remove, I got to cut back. Don't remove, add. Look at what you have and add in healthier alternative options to this. You know, you can eat all the veggies and all the fruits and eat those things. Those are really good for you. The fake sugars, fake foods are so much harder for the body to process, tricks you into thinking that you're not full, so you eat more. I mean, all these issues that really kind of stem from that. All the diabetes becomes such an issue from all the fake sugars. I could go on forever about this, but we want people to enjoy their lives and not feel like they are deprived from this. So if you're making healthier options and selecting those, and you're exercising your 60 minutes every day, and you want to have a glass of wine at the end of the day, you want to, enjoy a slice of pizza on the weekend, enjoy your life. We're not here to crack the whip on them and take all these things away. We're here to improve the quality of life. Doesn't mean we can't make suggestions on what they're adding in the majority of the time.
Alexis?
I love what you said about just add in some healthier stuff. I always like to also say baby steps. As I mentioned before, I work with a lot of people who are much, 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 much older, like average age, probably 90. And the challenge is that many times they are legit set in their ways. Meaning if you try to get them to change what they're already doing, if you get somebody who's 85 years old from the South, and you want to tell them not to put a ham hock in their collard greens, they're going to be like, well, you ain't doing it right. Like, that's the way that it is. What do you mean? That's the way that we cook. That's the way that I was brought up. Or you'll get hit with I've been eating like this all my life and I'm 90, what you got to say to me? Like I get feisty old broads, and
Oh no. What about your grandma? What about your grandma? Alexis?
Two brewskis, baby.
Yeah.
no, my grandma, she's 82, and every time 11 a.m. she's cracking open a brewski, and she says that that's her daily routine, and that's that. Grandma just drinks her beer and she's happy. And me and my mom will go to the grocery store to get, well, you know, your grandma needs her brewskis. And so, but I do think it is about adding on some other healthy elements to balance it out, and also showing them a lot of respect, because they can many times be really set in their ways and they feel like, I've lived this long, who are you to tell me to change now?
And Keli, do your clients ask you what to eat?
Not really. No, I don't get a lot of those questions. Most of them are fairly, privileged, I guess you might say, but they have the opportunity and access to good foods. I think dehydration, as Robert mentioned, is more of an issue with our older clients because of incontinence and low self-efficacy, and so making sure that we remind them to hydrate and give them some exercises for the pelvic floor to build some self-efficacy. Little simple things like that can really help with hydration, the willingness to even want to hydrate, because that's not something they even like to talk about.
And Jane?
My husband's fall this summer was from dehydration. It was from dehydration, and he fainted and hit his head really hard. Fortunate he didn't have a brain bleed. And I know Christine Conti and I talk a lot, and her mother had a fall because of dehydration. So Keli, I commend you for that. They got to keep pushing the water.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Trisha Silverman is one of our faculty, and she does a wonderful 4-hour, it's short, it's sweet, it's very powerful on active nutrition for active aging, which is fantastic. We're also, our original active aging certification actually was authored by Lawrence Biscontini, who's amazing. And Keli is privileged enough to be teaching it. But we're also adding a virtual training element onto it. So this will help people learn how to virtually train, because the world has changed. We're updating all our manuals for our certifications in 2021, because frankly, we really need to. But we do, like Keli, you're very fortunate. You're right. You are in California, you charge a lot for your personal training clients, and they are wealthier and able to eat healthy. But Alexis, you're going into retirement centers a lot, right? A lot of your instructors. You've got a huge instructor base and a huge client base. And they do have these, the limited nutrition. It's very valuable. The other person I'm very impressed with is Melissa Lane, authored Nutrition Coaching for the Fitness Professional, because that seems to be something that we're also asked. I'm throwing these things out. I'm going to ask, we're going a little bit over because Zoom gave us a little bit of a scare and knocked us all out. I'm going to start with some closing remarks from people. Who would like to start?
I'll start.
Okay, Jane, you get to start. Let's keep them short,
Okay.
but please share your thoughts.
My closing remarks are, if you don't know about the blue zones, the 5 blue zones that are around the world, one is in Loma Linda, California. There are places where people live a high quality of life into their 90s and 100s. Learn about them, read about them, learn what they do. There are 9 things that each of these cities in the world do to live that high quality of life for a long time. Not only years to their life, but life to their years.
Wonderful. Okay, and Robert?
I was just finishing up a text on there about hips. Everybody's got such great questions up on here. My greatest concern with anybody as we age, I just got back from an impromptu trip to Florida to help take care of my dad, who fell and broke his hip his kidney failure. He has all these limitations going on, and I hate to pick on him, but zero resistance training, zero activity through his days of 77 years. And I cannot encourage and preach to people enough that 20 minutes every other day of some basic resistance training is a great start of a foundation to just start getting your body a little bit strong. That little bit of foundational strength will branch to any other thing you want to do. You want to golf, you want to garden, you want to shop, whatever it is, just a little bit of extra strength is going to help bridge that gap to make you a little bit better, a little more efficient at that. And it does so much, from that bone density to battling sarcopenia, which is our greatest issue right now. When your muscle mass shrinks and fails to the point that you can't perform daily functions, daily movements, your quality of life is shit. And we're looking at this going, well, why are we having so many issues and so many people that are susceptible to all these diseases? It's because we're not active, because we don't encourage and push that. It's more about medications and other options. So to long story short, keep doing what we're doing, encourage this, share your stories, tell your success stories about your clients that do well. Let them be seen by their peers, by their friends, by their families, and say, I want to do what Jane's doing. I want to do what Kelly's doing. I can do that. I want to do that. How can I do that? And be the educator, be the teacher, inspire that, and change other people's lives. I wish I could have done it with my dad. I'm trying my hardest to get my mom to do it. But we never stop. You keep trying. That's the name of the game. It's what we do.
It's amazing. We can like psychoanalyze all of us in like 5 minutes. Look at our families. Alexis.
I would just say, kind of Jane spoke to the, adding years to somebody's life, but I think it's also about adding quality to those years. And I think that when we're talking about active agers or our grandmas and papas or whatever many terms we wanted to use to call them, I think that it gives us, the instructors, the ability to be a blessing to other people. Because let's face it, if you walk into your big box gym, even if you walk into your YMCA, they can have 10 to 20 classes for people who can walk in and they're able-bodied and they're just fine. But what fun fitness options do they have for those who might be of age, who might have physical limitations, right? It's cool that they can go to physical therapy, but we're here to give them fun fitness options to show them that, hey, I get it. You're aging. I get it. You might have arthritis. You might be 90, but why can't they have fun fitness options like everybody else? And that is the gift that we are able to give. And honestly, I love speaking in anything that embodies fitness instructors, because it's not only a give, it's something that we give back to ourselves. When you work with seniors as the instructor or as the personal trainer, it adds years and longevity to your career. I can do this forever. I can't do body pump when I'm 90. Maybe I can, maybe I can't, but it won't be as easy, right? I can't do my kickboxing class body combat when I'm aging, but this is something that also extends the fitness instructor's career and allows us to still do what we do while blessing other people. And so I'm super duper passionate about it. And
we never could tell that, Alexis. All right, I'm going to scoot over to Kelly.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, Kelly.
I'd have to mirror everything that everyone has said. I'm a great believer in strength and conditioning. It really keeps us young and battles sarcopenia. For our, as Bernadette O'Brien says, chronologically enriched, to add one more. But I think as a trainer, it's very important that you get educated and you get as much information on board so that you know how to work with people. You're not going to be putting them at risk. So learn, continue to learn, get certified. There are a lot of courses out there. Join us. We have some great courses at SCW. There is many ways to learn. Get as much experience as you can with education, because you will be much more beneficial to your client.
And what I find so amazing is everybody's got a different take. Take more than, I'm like sitting here, take more than one certification. Training the older adult, Chair One, Fit Fix Now. We've all got these we've got these wonderful programs. So I'm going to end with a wonderful little video, if I can find it. Let's see if I can find it. There we go. Certification Smash is coming up. Here we go. Here's the video. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for having patience while Zoom just exploded on us. We hope to see you at a live event. I've gotten a lot of questions about that. October 1st, we're going to be in Chicago. Then beginning of November, we're going to be in Dallas. And then in the beginning of December, we're going to be in Boston. So yay, we're going to have live events. I hope to see you at one of our live streaming events this summer. We have another Active Aging Convention coming up in September. Watch for it. All these wonderful people will be joining us. Yay. And have a great evening. Thank you, Mike Lieber, for managing us. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Mike.